Welcome to the Vault Excel. Happy Sunday. Hope you all are well, had a wonderful weekend, and have a prosperous, safe week. This content is pertaining to Bryan Kohberger. He will go to court tomorrow, and new information has come out that he has burglarized a female colleague's home. Who is the source? Because somebody has been very busy in News Nation's ear, and I'd like to know who is this person. How many people have gone to this news agent with commentary pertaining to the Idaho 4 slangs? What is the truth to the information that they have been relaying, and why was there no arrest of Bryan Kohberger pertaining to this allegation? And why is it coming out now? You have to ask all those questions. Thank you for joining me, everybody. You listen to the Vault Excel. News Nation is the source.
Set to be arraigned on Monday morning at 9 a.m. This comes after a grand jury indicted him on 4 counts of first-degree murder on Tuesday. And now we are learning more about the suspects from Kohberger's own family, along with another bombshell allegation claiming the suspect, Bryan Kohberger, was involved in another crime that happened before these murders. Now, this incident involved his female coworker at Washington State University. According to a Dateline report, someone allegedly broke into the woman's apartment and moved things around. Instead of calling police, the coworker called Kohberger, who suggested and helped her install security cameras. But the report says Kohberger was behind that break-in and used those cameras to spy on her. Let's bring in now News Nation national security contributor, former CIA officer and FBI special agent Tracy Walder. Tracy, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always great to see you. So first, let's start with this new allegation, which claims Kohberger broke into special agent's home and how he used this incident to spy on her. What does this claim tell you about Kohberger himself?
So, look, we have to take all of these as just claims, right? We don't necessarily have multiple sources, reporting that this is true. If this is true, and if this indeed happened, it really does point to his sort of pattern of stalking. I have always believed, it's just my personal opinion, that, the victims in the Idaho Kings Road house were not randomly selected. I do believe that in some way he stalked them, whether that was digitally or physically, we don't know. And so what this could point to is a pattern of stalking, in that he was surveilling this person remotely, or in some kind of digital way. So that's what this would help point to.
And another huge claim from that Dateline report involves Kohberger's older sister. During the time of the killing, she noticed that her brother was wearing latex gloves around their parents' home and that he drove the white car police were searching for nationwide. That sister also suggested her brother was behind the killing. So now we reported that an ID and other evidence was taken from Kohberger's parents' home. What's the likelihood that his own family helped investigate?
If these claims are true, I wouldn't be surprised that someone in his family suspected that he was involved in this. If he was walking around wearing latex gloves consistently, dumping his trash in neighbors' trash, and even going through his own trash and making sure that there was nothing suspect in it. He drives a white Hyundai. He lived close to the scene of the crime. I think those are all valid inferences, quite frankly, that members of his family could have made. But I could see people being on both sides of the fence. I could see his sister perhaps making a claim like this, and someone like his father sort of in a way brushing that off. I would imagine it's very hard to be a parent and have a child being accused of something so heinous.
I certainly can imagine. So instead of holding a preliminary hearing, as you know, a grand jury indicted Kohberger for the murders. But a grand jury proceedings, those are secret, and the defense does not get to question witnesses or hear the case presented. So why do you think prosecutors opted for the grand jury in this case?
I think that they probably opted for the grand jury and that they most likely had a preponderance of evidence. Quite frankly, I remember as an FBI agent going and testifying, in front of grand juries, and basically, my boss telling me, if you don't get an indictment, don't bother to come back. Typically, when you go through to a grand jury indictment, you want to make sure that you have more than enough evidence to present that is going to return an indictment. And I think that in a way, they wanted to be able to just provide the defense with a transcript of this, which which the defense will get, and not have to lay all of their cards out on the table.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find.
All right, everybody. News Nation is the source. So there is an allegation against Bryan C. Kohberger as being a burglar, helping a colleague, coworker, set up cameras in her home. So I'm going to just ask the same question I just asked. Who is this coworker? Is she only assuming that he broke in, moved things around, spying on her, helping her, set up cameras and all that because of the allegations against him pertaining to the Idaho 4? Because what you have to ask yourself is the obvious. Did you suspect him thereafter? Okay, because first, things moving around had to come first in order to decide to purchase cameras. You mentioned this to Kohberger. Allegedly, we didn't know he talked to women, fraternized with women. Now we have a female coming forward saying, what? Oh, yeah, I spoke to him briefly when I had an issue. So then you have to ask the obvious question, the next obvious question. Why did she tell Kohberger? What was it about him that she decided to share this information? Or did he overhear her speaking to someone and interjected and said, oh, I can help you. I can lend a hand. And if the apartment was broken into, how did the person get in to rearrange things in the house? Number one, what was rearranged exactly? Somebody moved a lamp, a chair, or whatnot. What was rearranged? How many things were rearranged? Was anything missing? And how did they get into the apartment without breaching the door? Unless this goes back to something said months ago, we felt safe here, we would leave our doors unlocked. And it's still breaking and entering, even if you leave your door unlocked at your house, apartment, condo. Okay? For some of you who may be a little frisky in the opening of doors department, it is still breaking and entering, even if you touch the doorknob and it's unlocked, ajar. It's still breaking and entering. So did the young lady leave her door unlocked one day, didn't lock it, ran out to do something to the car, or what? What's her proximity from her door to Kohberger's apartment? Does she live in the same complex? See, we didn't even get that information. So if you're going to bring us some tea, please bring us a receipt, because lately that's all we've been getting from News Nation is he said and she said pertaining to information, pertaining to a dirty cop, investigation of a cop, all this he said, she said. Where are you all going with this? Okay. Will it be introduced in the trial? He goes to court tomorrow. We will see if he enters a plea of guilty, not guilty, what evidence the state has. Obviously, they had enough to secure a grand jury indictment that you heard our ex-FBI agent give her own personal experience of investigation and indictments. It's got to stick. So make sure it sticks before you bring it to me. That's what her supervisor told her. So obviously something stuck pertaining to Kohberger and the evidence that the state put before the grand jury panel. We also get information of a grand jury list of witnesses being sealed. I also need to play you that commentary as well. Might need to put that also in the title. Thank you for joining me. I want to know who this woman is. I want to know what is her interaction with Kohberger, the extent of her interaction, and did she suspect him before he became a suspect in these homicides? Because you always have to go back to the beginning of a story. A lot of times people do not think of other people as suspects in crimes until they are accused of a crime. So if you don't know this person to be a cat burglar, voyeur, peeping Tom, sadist, rapist, whatever, You didn't think of it beforehand, but you only thought of it after the fact when you hear that they have been accused of a very nasty crime. And Kohberger has indeed been accused of a very, very nasty crime of 4 persons, brutally bludgeoned to death inside of a home. So did he break into this young lady's home? So we need a date of the break-in or alleged break-in. We need to know the interaction between Kohberger and this young lady and how it came to be that they were conversating about the break-in. Where were the cameras installed inside of her house? Bedroom, this place, that place? He knew not to go back in there. Let's say he did break in and interjected himself to help out. He would be a fool to go back because now she has cameras set up. Stay woke. Had he been stalking her? Anyone she knows? Any other students, co-workers? And as you hear the ex-FBI agent saying, she does not feel that the girls were randomly chosen. No, I don't think they were randomly chosen either. I think he found them on a social media site and he exacted his stalking by messaging, gaping at pictures. And I do believe he moved to the Pacific Northwest to stalk the young ladies. That's my feeling. Because if they have proof that he was gathering of photos, sending messages a year before touching down, meaning he gathered information in 21, then he perfected the crime. It's premeditated. Premeditation to move, apply to this school, Washington State, and then make way to Idaho and stalk the victims in order to kill them. And once again, who was his target? One or all? One or two? One or three? As far as the witnesses feeling threatened, you can't be talking about anybody but the 2 survivors, as you all love to call them. Because what other witnesses would feel threatened about their names being on the witness list that testified before the grand jury? I'll wait. Could it be the young ladies who were in the house? On the bottom floor? And do we even have a receipt that she was even in the house sleep? Maybe she was somewhere else. Maybe she came home late. I don't know. All very interesting information. So what was Mr. Kohberger doing in his short time at the university? And I do believe he was possibly stalking other women. And now that we have this new allegation about a coworker's apartment being broken into, and Mr. Kohberger just so happened to be helping her install cameras, that would be just quite diabolical, besides the 4 murders. Stalking someone, break into their house, and interject yourself to help set up their cameras in their house. What you think about that? And what have we heard about killers, murderers? They like to interject themselves in the crime. They go back to the scene of the crime. So this will be the same scenario. I've already broken in. Now I've got to interject myself to be of use to this victim. Oh, I'll help you. Although I'm the one you're speaking about. You don't know that yet. I've been in your house snooping through your things. I know when you're coming and going. I've already been in here. And I don't mind helping you set up cameras in your house. Very creepy. Did Mr. Kohberger stalk this lady beforehand? And why her? Does he have a type? Bet you all never asked that question. Does Mr. Kohberger have a type of victim? How many victims are there as far as stalking? How many students, colleagues has he stalked at the university, at his university? The general area, neighbors, Idaho, Washington, Pennsylvania. Did he move to the Pacific Northwest deliberately to get near one of the girls or all of them? And will he also face a charge of burglary for this young lady's apartment? Door breach, not breach. Door unlocked, locked. Window, what? How would he have gotten in? And once again, why does she think Kohberger was in her apartment rearranging items? His family questioning his guilt. Well, I do think it would be quite obvious something's going on. You're walking around a house with gloves on. So did his parents ask him, all right, what's going on? What's with the latex gloves? What's your problem? And if the sisters or whomever question his guilt, because I'm trying to figure out why would you be questioning when he hadn't even been arrested yet? Stay woke now. So you've been talking about him after the fact, after the arrest. So if you've been talking family members, who have you been speaking to, and who is our little birdie that has brought forward this allegation, this smoking tea? They've arrested my brother. Yeah, I think he did it because he was walking around the house using gloves the whole time he was here. And once again, did he intend to return back to the university? What all did he leave back at the apartment in Washington? Did he turn in a notice to the apartment landlord he wasn't returning and to the school he wasn't returning? Did he plan on transferring to another university? Stay woke. How much information does his family know? Parents. Did he confide in his parents? We know he didn't have any friends. So did he confide in his father what he had done? Has he hinted that he's done something in phone calls, letters, mail? Does he get mail? Does he respond to mail? Who's visiting him? Who's calling him? Who's he talking to? They do use iPads in the jail now for video messaging. Naturally, they have to pay, put money on cards, so on and so forth. People have to put money on cards so they can video message on the iPads. Who is he talking to? Mom, dad. Do they believe he's innocent, guilty? Sisters, what do you believe? Innocent, guilty. What will be his plea tomorrow in court? He's a narcissist, so he wants to watch this play out. He wants to see how he messed up, slipped up. That is expected of Mr. Kohberger because he's a sadist. And he's possibly been a sadist for some time. Maybe he didn't act out any crimes on a human, but it was in his mind. Born a sadist or evolved into a sadist, which is Kohberger. Very sad and sick story. 4 children lost their lives to a very disturbed being. And when you look at Kohberger in photographs, his eyes are cold. They're piercing and they're cold. And we have also heard that he likes to stare. That is not surprising, because that's all he has, is to stare, be in his thoughts, because he doesn't mingle well with others. He doesn't know how to talk, converse. So that's all he has are his thoughts. Let's bring up some information pertaining to the witness list, and then I will get out of you all's way today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji, 129 Cash App, stickers and chat to welcome during this live stream. Thank you all so much. And sorry I did not put up a movie up for the weekend. I will give you all a double dose of something to watch for this week. Let's see. Trying to find this information about Kohberger in this indictment list. Let's see. I can find it somewhere. Hope you all are well. Beautiful day here in the high 10. Just gorgeous. Let's see if I can find this content. For some reason I can't find it. And then going back several months ago. And then they also have an upload from 3 days ago stating they have 51 terabytes of digital discovery. He's been a very busy bee. Then the next video says, how can defense search through 51 terabytes of data in Idaho case? Now, what does that mean, 51 terabytes? Because I don't know very much about this computer lingo. Hello, everybody in the chat. I'm trying to find this information about it says Idaho suspect Bryan Kohberger indictment a setback. Why? I don't know why I can't find it. Because I know I saw it the other day. I'm going to have to search on another device. One moment, you guys. Thank you for joining. I got 45 in the house. Amen. Hope y'all are having a good weekend. Memorial Day's coming up. Please stay safe. I got to try to find this content. Lord, don't tell me they said Chris Brown's been arrested. Now, what has he done? Lord have mercy. This child stays in trouble. I've never seen a person that's always in something. Hold on. Let's see. I have to go into their individual videos. It's easier that way. Let's see. Hold on one second, you guys, because I know I saw this content about him. Somebody was talking about it. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. I don't know where it is. Maybe it was another network speaking about it. I'll just have to type it in because I can't find it. Let's see. I know I just saw it the other day. Here it is. This content is by WNEP. So I got to go and search it on this other. Hold on one second. It wasn't News Nation. I knew it was somebody. Okay. Give me 1 second. I don't know if I posted this to my community board, this news clip. But we're going to see what they're talking about. Yeah, I just listened to this briefly today. 16 ABC WNEP is the source, everybody. We're going to listen at this commentary here 1 second. See what they have to say about this. And I'll share it to my community board in case you want to go back and look at the information. Hello, Carol. How are you? All right, everybody. Once again, the source is WNEP. It's a network I've never heard of, but this lady's got some commentary. This is pertaining to the witness list and them wanting it sealed, the witnesses who went before the grand jury. Somebody is feeling threatened or has been threatened, and I would like to know who are these people on the witness list that felt threatened to where they will ask the judge to have their names sealed in this Kohberger case. Thank you for joining me, everybody.
Welcome back to Case of Interest Kohberger. I'm Newswatch 16 Stacey Lane. We have a lot to talk about this week. I'm sure you know the big headline in the University of Idaho murder case that came out this week. Of course, that a grand jury in Idaho has indicted Bryan Kohberger on 4 charges of first-degree murder and a charge of burglary. And we had a lot of viewers reach out to us and say, hey, haven't I heard this before? It sounds like deja vu, because of course he was charged with those 4 counts, the first-degree murder and burglary, back in December here in Pennsylvania, and then was extradited back to Idaho to face those charges. Those charges still exist. What we know, the affidavit that was released by police, that is all still very valid. What needs to happen in any case in any state around the country is that those charges brought by police and prosecutors need some kind of review, be it from a judge through the course of a preliminary hearing or through a grand jury. And it depends state to state how that process works. The system in Idaho is fairly similar to the system here in Pennsylvania. What's a little different is that the grand jury process is very similar to what the federal court process is, where the grand jury operated in secret and handed down this indictment, and that stands as that judicial review, so to speak. So we were preparing for a preliminary hearing on June 26th. We now know that will not happen, which means a lot of things as far as how the prosecution of this case will work, and we're going to get into that. We talked to a legal expert about that. The biggest thing is that we will not learn much more about the evidence against Bryan Kohberger like we were expecting to hear in that preliminary hearing. Let's take a look at the indictment that has been posted on the Idaho court's case of interest page. I'm going to take a look at that now. That document, of course, will include a link on WNEP.com if you want to take a look for yourself. There isn't a whole lot here because the grand jury doesn't have to present an affidavit like police and prosecutors do. They don't have to explain why they reached the conclusion. They don't even have to tell us if it was a unanimous decision. All we know is that there were 16 grand jurors, as is the law in Idaho, and either majority or unanimously voted to hand down this indictment. And here's a list of the charges. And if you scroll on to the next page, it doesn't say much more other than each count of murder is tied to each one of those victims. First, Madison Mogan, Kayla Gonzalez, Xander Coronado, and Ethan Chapman. There are all of the counts that he is now facing, and he'll be arraigned in what's known as a formal arraignment on Monday, and we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. The new court documents that came out today actually have to do with that grand jury. The prosecution asked the judge in this case to seal the list of grand jury witnesses. We already know that we can't know what the testimony was in this grand jury. Now we will definitely not know who actually testified because they filed this motion to seal the grand jury witnesses, and then almost immediately after the judge granted it. But I wanted to read part of the request from the prosecutors for you. The second paragraph here says, in support, the state respectfully represents to the court that it has received numerous complaints from potential or prospective witnesses or their families and associates regarding being harassed both in person and via social media. The reports of harassment have included threats as well as what appears to be intimidation. Given this and the broad publicity surrounding these proceedings, the state respectfully submits that releasing the names of the witnesses who appear before the grand jury would invite additional harassment, intimidation, and possible threats, and undermine not only the integrity of this case, but the parties' prospective rights to a fair trial with an impartial jury. This has been a narrative since day one on this case, is protecting Bryan Kohberger's right to a fair trial by trying to tamp down any pretrial speculation through media coverage because of the gag order. And now that the grand jury helps them protect and keep close to the vest some of the evidence against him. We discussed that with the legal expert, Brett Regal, an attorney, a defense attorney in Monroe County. So he comes at this very much from the defense perspective, but he explains what the thought of prosecutors might be proceeding into this grand jury route. So let's take a listen to what he had to say.
So we know now that that a grand jury has been working behind the scenes for who knows how long, and this indictment comes out. I think that the average viewer sees this and goes, wait a minute, I thought this already happened. So what's the difference between, the charges that were filed, in December and now this?
Not a lot of difference, sort of. Really, the way to kind of explain it is that the charges that were filed in December were an accusation made through the police and through the prosecutor. And then, other than simply making sure that the requisite elements are listed out in the paperwork, that doesn't trigger any deadlines for him. It hasn't really been judicially reviewed to determine whether or not there's a level of substance to it. So there's two ways that something goes from those accusations to then being a formal indictment, or in Pennsylvania we call them an information. And that is either that there's a preliminary hearing and a judge binds the charges over, or there's an indictment from a grand jury. And in fact, Idaho's process looks to follow the federal system a little more closely than it would follow the Pennsylvania system, where if you've got a preliminary hearing scheduled, but a grand jury indictment comes in before it, then the preliminary hearing is taken off the calendar because there's no longer a need for it.
Strategically, from a prosecutor's standpoint, why would you go that grand jury route?
There's an old joke that goes that in a grand jury, the prosecutor ought to be able to get the jury to indict a ham sandwich. And what the joke essentially means is that a grand jury is not a bipartisan proceeding. It's not both parties get a shot at a say. It is a one-sided process. So if there's good evidence that the prosecution has and then some questionable evidence, they just don't share that part. They only share the part that helps support their case. So in some states, there's a right to participate in the grand jury if you provide notice and things of that nature. In other states, there isn't a right to participate in it. You just have to kind of wait for what comes out of the secret proceedings. And they're generally secret in most, if not all, states. Pennsylvania has both an investigating and indicting grand jury process, and it's supposed to remain entirely behind closed doors until an indictment is pronounced, or in the context of an investigating jury, if they make recommendations to the prosecutor.
Could the secret element be part of the puzzle here? Because everything we had heard was that this preliminary hearing on June 26th was essentially going to be a mini trial. But now all of the evidence that was presented to the grand jury, the public won't see now, as opposed to what would have happened.
That is 100% correct. The public doesn't see it, whether that is an effort to tamp down some of the public interest in the case. It could be whether it is simply from a time and effort perspective more efficient, whether it is a matter that from a perspective of the prosecution not wanting the defendant to have a crack at some of their witnesses. There's a lot of different reasons that the prosecutor can use this tool, and here they obviously chose to use it for one, some, or all of those reasons.
So from someone on the defense side, when you hear this, do you think, there might be some weaknesses in the prosecution's case?
Call me an eternal optimist for the defense. I always think that there are some weaknesses in a prosecution's case somewhere. But that may be it, or it may simply be that from the standpoint of what they were looking at coming out in the preliminary hearing, they felt more comfortable going in front of the grand jury and getting the indictment in that fashion. They still have to turn everything over to the defense through the discovery process. So it's not like the defense won't at some point know what was said by whom, etc. But bear in mind that from the defense standpoint, one of the things that sometimes you're doing with a preliminary hearing is getting a version of events out from the questions you want to ask. And then at the time of trial, when you're asking similar questions, you may seize upon differences in the way that the person answers, or internal conflicts with their story, or even external conflicts with person A says this, person B says that. The only questions that get asked in a grand jury proceeding are the ones that the prosecution wants asked. So there isn't that opportunity for the defense to ask the things that are important to it ahead of time.
It's for chances to find it in consistencies statement.
Right. Yep.
Strategy. Yeah. So we know that Kohberger will be in court on Monday for an arraignment on this indictment. What comes next?
So in the arraignment, that's going to be the spot where the court is giving him all of the internal deadlines to the case as they currently exist. Like, when will you have all of your discovery? When are your pretrial motions due? When is there going to be a status conference or a pretrial conference to determine if it's going to trial, how long, etc. There may be requirements under Idaho's procedure for any offer that the district attorney's office, the prosecutor's office, wants to extend to Mr. Kohberger. Something along the lines of, well, if you plead guilty to one of the homicides and agree that it's life without parole, we won't pursue the others, or things of that nature. And there's no real way to tell that until the judge says, here's the scheduling order. This is what's going to happen, and this is the time frame for it all. And I guess it is important to understand that those time frames are really everyone's best guess, because if the defense is working on an investigation and needs more time, they're going to file a motion, and the court would be, it'd be a very, very unusual day for the court not to grant at least a first request for some additional time, and it wouldn't be unusual to grant several.
Again, that was Brett Regal from Arm Lawyers in Stroudsburg in Monroe County, where Bryan Kohberger is from, helping us understand what prosecutors in Idaho might be thinking now that this grand jury indictment has come out, and what that could mean for Kohberger's case. Of course, we were expecting that preliminary hearing, which was set to become a, quote, mini trial, as prosecutors have called it. But that's now not going to happen. It does mean Kohberger is going to be in a courtroom much earlier than we anticipated. On Monday, he's scheduled to be arraigned on those charges from the grand jury. We will have coverage of that hearing all day long on Newswatch 16, as well as on WNEP.com. And of course, we'll be breaking it down here. So thanks for tuning in for another episode of Case of Interest Kohberger.
Well, that's that. 16 WNEP ABC is the source. Let's talk about this data everybody's crying about pertaining to Kohberger, because I need to understand what the hell they're talking about, because I'm not a computer literate person. I don't like fooling with computers myself. I ain't really interested in computers. Please go to my community page to take the polls. I'm asking you, who are the witnesses? As the one in the chat said, we already know who the survivors' names are. So is it possibly this person who said he broke into her apartment? It's only a matter of time that somebody would try to leak out their name, because all they're going to do is try to connect the dots. So whoever was around him, talked to him, and put their name out there, even if they don't even know it's the truth or not. This is what happens when people get busy trying to piece things together in an investigation. Okay? So go to my community board to take the polls pertaining to the witnesses. Do you believe this allegation of him breaking into this lady's apartment? If he did, how did he get in? How did he break in without breaching the door? Is she only assuming he was the person that moved stuff around in her apartment because he's been charged with these murders? Is this person making this up? Let's ask all those questions. Proof. Receipt. Who are the people that keep running the News Nation with all these allegations and stories? And I got the T, the 411, but we ain't got a receipt on nothing thus far. Will we get proof of all these allegations of this and the cop and who's been investigated by internal affairs for what, why, when, where? Will we get this information during trial? Will the state have enough evidence to convict him? What other evidence do they have that we haven't heard about? Okay, we're going to use the obvious. Ping, cell phone data, CCTV footage. Somebody saw him walk by with bushy eyebrows. but the defense is going to say, how do you know he's the guy you saw walk by? Was it dark? Was the light on? Were you drunk, inebriated, high? Shut your mouth. Because they're going to ask you, did you pop a pill the night before, the morning of? Did you take any drugs, fentanyl, weed, marijuana, ecstasy, with all these crazy named drugs these young people like taking? How can you say it was him? There are a lot of guys with bushy eyebrows. Do you know Mr. Kohberger? Have you ever met Mr. Kohberger? Has he ever been in your house before? Hanging with the girls? Coming to any of your parties, functions? You see where I'm going? The defense is going to probably get real nasty. I suspect there's going to be some real bias movement going on in that court. You're going to get a lot of repeat of Casey Anthony's attorney's disposition with the Kohberger case. And the lawyer is going to also feed off all this gossip. He said, she said, he did this, he did that, she did this. He went to the Greek restaurant, blah, 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 blah. We kept hearing that at the beginning. That's just something everybody just threw out there because where the girls work. Well, he's a vegetarian. As if there are no other places in this damn Moscow where you can buy a damn vegetable dish. Come on. It's a vegetable. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. What was this about a witness who saw a naked man? That was all the hub for a hot minute. Carol, I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, dear God, I can't. Oh, Lord. I don't know anything about a naked man. Girl, you done made me lose my train of thought. I can't. On that note, as most of you know, he's been indicted. He goes to court tomorrow. We will see what happens with this, the latest information, what plea he will give. And also the family of Kaylee Gonzalez have said they will be at the trial for every moment, which we expected that. And it was just so funny that as soon as I saw that notification of that commentary by News Nation, I had just thought about her father saying, they've been awfully quiet. We haven't heard anything from the father, the family, the sister, anybody. And boom, I saw the notification. It was only a matter of time that they would have something to say. I'm trying to find this Kohberger information about the data. I don't know why it's not popping up. Let's see. Hold on one second. Let me go down. Let's see. I don't know why it's not bringing up what I want. That one of the survivors witnessed a naked man going out the side door. I never heard that, Carol. Thank the Lord. No, honey, I never heard that. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. This is pertaining to evidentiary material of terabytes, whatever the hell that means. I'm not computer literate, so we will chop up this set information. Thank you for joining me, everybody. You listen to the Vault XL.
You know what? I don't even know where to start. But I'm going to ask someone who knows a lot about this, Dave Ehrenberg. He's the state attorney for Palm Beach County, former assistant attorney general. Dave, I feel like in the last decade or two, the document dumps are getting overwhelming. Like mental health days are going to be needed to get through this. And how many people, like seriously, how many sets of eyeballs and eyeball hours will it take to get through all that on both sides? Because prosecutors have to know what's in it. Defense has to know what's in it.
Yeah, actually, you've heard of prosecutors getting sanctioned for withholding evidence, but you've never heard of a prosecutor getting sanctioned for providing too much evidence. And that's why prosecutors will err on the side of disclosure. And that means that defense counsel and their investigators are going to have to look through the hours and hours of video, but generally they know the approximate areas they're going to look through. They're not just going to sit there second by second. They have techniques where they can fast forward to the most important times because they'll know when the crucial times are on the videos. Now, keep in mind, when you ask for a phone record, like if you're going to ask a phone company for the records of Kohberger's phone, that alone could be about 12,000 pages. And then you multiply that by all the different phones that were being seized. And you can already come out to 1 million pages just like that. So, this is why, prosecutors have so many documents to turn over, because the last thing they want is for sanctions because they didn't turn over enough.
So we see Bill Taylor, the DA, and we see, Ann Taylor over on the other side, or Bill Thompson, I should say. And I imagine they've got a small staff because this is taxpayers' time for both defense and prosecution. But how many staff will it take to be able to get through that? Because it could be that needle in a haystack that either nails him into the coffin or frees him. And both sides need to find that needle if it's there. How many people do they usually get?
Well, if the defense counsel think that they need more people, they go to the judge and they'll get an additional appropriation, more money to go hire more people, because the court will always try to ensure that a defendant's Sixth Amendment right is being honored, right to a fair trial. So defense counsel will get more appropriations. They're already getting more lawyers than originally. And I think actually this is one reason why the defense lawyers for Kohberger waived their right to a speedy trial. That way they could have more time to look over all of the evidence. So they're prepared for this. I don't think necessarily are prepared for 51 terabytes, but this is a huge case involving multi-level law enforcement agencies, state, local, and federal. So they all have their discovery they had to turn over to the defense.
Man, that is, if you had 200 people on staff, it would still be a massive job. I truly don't know how they're going to get through it all and still have the right eyes on it on both sides. Like I said, Dave, thank you. It's always good to have you on. Dave Ehrenberg, you're the best. Thank you for what?
News Nation, bad feel, everybody. I'm trying to understand what the hell 51 terabytes is. Here we go. This source is by Reddit for you internet dummies, computer dummies such as Queen. I don't really care what somebody thinks. Because I don't want to be wrapped up in computer land for the rest of my life, because I'm really sick of email this, password this. Who cares? Nobody cares about that kind of stuff. I don't know why I have to open up Reddit just to get information pertaining to. I'll open it up in Chrome. Okay, so this is somebody responding to the Moscow murders. Hello, Tracy. This is really bothering me. Does anyone have a reasonable explanation or thoughts? I can't wrap my head around how it's even possible. 1 hour of 4K video is about here we go with this BS, about 7.2 GB. So we're talking the equivalent of 7,000 plus hours of 4K video. How? That would take 295 days of watching 24/7 to view it all. If it's that much video, then they've got the shocked emoji. I can't fathom how they have the equivalent of 295 days of the highest quality video. Makes absolutely no sense. If we're talking just normal HD video, it's the equivalent of 7+ years of 24/7 recording. Even if it's 3D renderings, that's the equivalent of 500 plus AA top shelf video games. I really can't make sense of this new information no matter how I try to process it. So this is somebody that's very technical, because I don't understand a word they're damn talking about. This seems the most likely, especially since CCTV footage was such a big part of their early investigation. This is from somebody else. Probably just transferred all the footage they had regardless of its relevance. Of course. And that's the point. You don't know what's relevant until you watch it. Then somebody else responded. I saw a comment on another thread suggesting that the 3D crime scene recording video done as one of the first steps by forensics would be very large data files also. Okay. Now, this person responded 4 days ago. Hi, friendly local prosecutor here. Yes, that is a ton of data, but what most people don't know is that a ton of discovery actually has very little consequence in the case. A lot of it is metadata. For every video and picture I share in discovery, I have to turn over metadata as well. If they were getting dash cam, body cam, surveillance video, etc. from a ton of locations during the investigation, that adds up. Add to that the entire content of all the 4 victims' phones, as well as his phone, plus the data and metadata subpoena from all the companies behind the apps they needed access for the investigation, plus phone records, cell site data, etc. With 4 victims in a complex technical investigation, you'd be shocked how the data just piles up. They're also probably sharing background records on witnesses, including cops, which in my personal experience can be hundreds and hundreds of pages of ultimately irrelevant nonsense. I don't know what Idaho's discovery obligations are, but here in New York, anything that so much as brushes past the case needs to be shared with the defense. Thank you, Welford. I don't know how to say this. Welford Wigglesworth on Reddit. God, I don't want to be on that damn app. So you're right. Doesn't necessarily have to be Kohberger's cell phone, devices, computer. Could be data in general. Because the title of this video says Idaho student murders, 51 terabytes of digital discovery. So it doesn't specify who it belongs to before we start assuming it's all Kohberger's. 1 minute she asleep, next minute singing naked. Right. That should be my next video. Because I'm tired of talking about murder. I'm tired of talking about Kohberger. Like I said, I want to get an end to these cases. I'm glad he's going to court so we can put an end to it. I want this SOB tried before it gets 90 degrees in Tennessee. I want to end into all of this. But just for the record, I'm glad this person responded. They sound like they know what they're talking about. If indeed they are an attorney in New York. You're talking about everybody's data. Everybody involved in some way that knew the victims, knew the suspect. Because it's all going to be relevant as far as who they text, who they said something to. Anything that seems suspicious in their conversation. Anything as this person says is irrelevant. So you also have to go through things that won't even have anything to do with the case. Such as CCTV footage, text messaging, phone calls, apps. Very good point. Seizing of the apps, cell phone records pertaining to the apps that they are on, such as this Reddit, TikTok, Facebook, IG, dating sites, emails, so on and so forth. I have never seen anything about a naked man. You know, I don't keep up with the he said and the she said in a lot of these cases because it can get out of control. And that's one thing I never did was put out any false allegation. At the beginning of this story, I was probably, I will say, one of the main content holders that did not feed into the lies and the storytelling of their associates, friends, boyfriends, exes, because I didn't know these children from a can of paint. They are dead and I still don't know them. I don't know Kohberger, okay? I don't know their neighbors. I don't know who they dated. I didn't go jump on their pages, TikTok, IG, and start accusing people as killers because you're talking about 4 people, just like what this lawyer is saying. You're talking about 4 people who talked on the damn phone, texted people, messaged people through apps, commented on stuff. So I use the same discretion as far as suspects. Too many people in these children's lives to assume who could have killed them. Because we know in this day and time, people will murder you for the simplest of a reason. It doesn't have to be anything important that you did or said to them. You looked at them wrong. You cut them off in traffic. You made a sly remark, a joke. Now I want to kill everybody on sight. Because people murder people for different reasons. So that's why I never assumed who the killer was. They have a suspect. They have DNA on a sheath. That's good enough for me. And that's not counting what else they have that they have not released. I do believe they have the right person. And if he goes to trial, it comes out as something else, someone else, others, then we will wait to see what the state brings forward and what the defense brings forward. And any commentary from the defendant, if he will plead this way, that way, add somebody else in it, or take a plea. Yes, people are unhinged. People are killing people because they turned in their yard, turned in their driveway. That's why I hate doing the kind of work I had been doing recently, because it's easy to get the addresses mixed up, go in the wrong driveway, get your head blown off by some crazy hillbilly. You know, you have a white man that killed a black kid all because he went to the wrong damn door. It is easy to get mixed up. You could be rushing, not thinking properly. You got the address right, but the street is wrong. Because you can have the same numbers, but it's a different street. Easy to make a mistake. Easy to get sent the wrong address. Somebody sends you the wrong address. Which, you know, in your mind, you're going to say, well, damn, you don't know where you're at. But the point is, anything is possible. And people are just off the chain now. Mad, angry. We just had a murder here, early Saturday morning from a nightclub that's across the street from where I go on the weekends. And really, nobody came out last night to the little place that I go. Nobody came out. And then the other place that I frequent, sometimes he didn't open up because of that shooting that happened early Saturday morning. And then after listening to certain conversations last night, I had to check myself and say, it's time for you to find some new places to congregate. Just because the element and the he said and the she said and the attitudes of the people, it's really not people I really want to be around and listening to their damn problems. It's not to say that I can go hang somewhere else and still listen to that bullshit. But the point I'm making is that change is good. Change is good. Too many places to frequent. Then to keep going to the same old place, being around the same old people. So I'm going to start switching some things up. Summer's here. It's time to do and see some other things, even if that means out of my jurisdiction. Just threw that in there. But anyway, I'm not going to keep y'all long because I'm approaching hour 1 and it's a Sunday. I want to get out and enjoy the weather. But obviously, this is a lot of information. I'm not one of those people that know all about gigabytes and terabytes and sugar bytes. I don't keep up with all that type of computer stuff, how fast the internet is running, and do you have this high-speed internet? Look, the internet is on. That's all that's important to me. Does it lag at times, jump off? Because, you know, I've just got internet turned on at this new location where I'm at. Of course. Does it lag slow on my own phone? Of course. Are there times my phone freezes? Of course, because you're dealing with modern technology. And the phone can only keep up with what's been computed in the phone. The computer, it's all the same. And I tell people all the time, this is what you don't want, is to get yourself addicted to all this new stuff. Because now we do act a fool when the phone don't act right. The screens don't change over. The screens jump. You can't load the apps. This is dangerous. And I want to talk about that debit card stuff too. That don't have anything to do with this Kohberger case, but that comes to mind too. I was expecting the debit card to work, the machine to work at the business you spend. You all got to be a little savvy. Carry cash sometimes. Always carry cash on you. Doesn't have to be a lot, but carry cash, okay, you guys? You don't want to get addicted to all this machinery and debit card machines and stuff. And even with that online banking, I noticed something too. All the money didn't compute when I was debiting money out. I just made a purchase. I went in to look to see what my balance was, and it wasn't the balance it should have been. It should have been less. This is why I said you cannot get addicted to this modern technology because it can make a mistake. And that's when we start getting jiggy. Somebody says, well, let's just say, for instance, you didn't pay your bill. And you say, oh, yes, I did. And then she says, or he says, well, the computer says you, you didn't. And you're like, wait a damn minute. I'm the proprietor of my pocketbook. I know what I paid. That's why you always have to keep a receipt and a digital blueprint, because anything can cross over and make a mistake. And in the end, it's man that is the regulator of modern technology. So we cannot rely on a machine telling us this is truth, this is truth or whatever, because this is what we go by: the printout, the receipt. That's why you always get a receipt from a transaction. So that way, if something doesn't come through in an email or a text message or digitally, such as, through your online banking or whatever, you can always pull up a receipt and read the receipt back with the transaction number, the time and the date, the teller, all that. So this is why I always keep a receipt after I spend money. Now, I'm just throwing that out just because we're on this, terabyte conversation pertaining to this case. But as this attorney said on this Reddit post, you do need to consider that the information is not solely Kohberger's device and computers. It is everybody's device and computers, and seizing of records from like apps and phone companies, cell phone pings, tower pings, so on and so forth. Bryan Paula says people connecting dots that aren't even there. Well, that's what people do. That's why I don't feed into every rumor about something. I'm just the type of person, I want you to bring me a receipt because I know how things can get distorted, such as I've always said about texting. Just like when me and Britt and myself were going on and on about the Cal City verdict and all that. It's easy to perceive one thing and then somebody else sees something else that you didn't see, such as testimony. And I say the same thing about text messaging. You could text something and people can read it differently. I can read it different than what you interpreted. That's why people, get so offended by people texting stuff on these posts and in the chat, and they may say, well, that's not what I meant. But see, we don't know what you mean. Because a lot of people misspell things. They chop up their words. And I'm just saying that all in all, you can misconstrue texting in the chat or on a post. And definitely when it comes to true crime, even you think you're hearing something blatantly said, somebody still could say, well, that's not how I interpreted the information. But this case is just like all the other cases. There's always somebody bringing forth information saying they saw something, heard something, or somebody assumed something, or somebody is secretly giving out information. And as most of you know, there's a gag order in this case. So nobody is supposed to be running and repeating anything to a news agent. So this is why I would like to know who are the people running, giving information to News Nation, and what is the truth to the allegations. Now we have a new allegation of Kohberger breaking into someone's apartment and rearranging things in that apartment. And as I asked at the beginning of this live stream, do you believe this lady only thought that of him as the suspect because of the allegations against him? And I'm not saying that he didn't break into her apartment and rearrange things and then interjected himself to be the savior, because that is a typical behavior of a sadist. Go in, do something raunchy, and then interject themselves as the knight in shining armor. So I could see Kohberger doing this because he likes to be seen. He's a know-it-all. He's a narcissist. He has a God complex. So I can see him breaking into somebody's house and then interjecting himself in conversation, and then they just so happen to bring up the break-in. And, the strangest thing happened. I had put my chair by the window, and when I came home, it was sitting over here. And he's enjoying it because he knows he's the person that did it. And that would be even more diabolical than what we already have assumed about him, going in this house and killing these kids. He's now the one in somebody else's house and he's rearranging furniture or whatever the hell that she says was, rearranged. Paula says, I think they said the suspect, he broke in there, but they'll never be able to prove it, in my opinion. Why not, Paula? Why won't they be able to prove it? Tell me why. Why won't they be able to prove it? Because you got to remember one thing that's a correlation to this allegation versus the Idaho 4 slangs. He went in that house in Idaho and didn't break in by tool, window. Do you understand what I'm saying? Since this case came about, we have not heard of a broken window, a broken sliding door, a broken front door. Let's see, because he then went back there and installed a security system for her, and his DNA will be there from that. Well, I understand what you're saying, but it probably will be introduced. The problem will be, will the jury believe the allegation? That's where the problem is going to be. One, did she file a report to the police? See, this is where it gets dicey. She didn't file a report. First thing the defense is going to say, well, you're only saying this because you heard he's a suspect in the Idaho forest lanes. Before you even thought that he could have been a suspect, did you file a report? If she didn't file a report, that's not good. Because, oh, you said she didn't? Right. So that's my point. And the defense is going to eat that up. Well, ma'am, aren't you concerned about your safety? So this goes back to what I said earlier. Did he walk in her house because the door was unlocked? Because this is what sadists do. They're looking for that opportunity to come in your house, and you help them come in. And we heard some students say to the news months ago, oh, we don't lock our doors around here. So that's why this has really creeped us out, that he's gone over to Idaho and killed these kids, and we were over here right with him, and we don't even lock our doors. Well, Dodo Bird, that's what he's hoping. You don't lock your damn doors. That's what those damn kids did over there in Idaho. He was like, thank you. Thank you for not locking your door. Thank you for not locking your windows. Thank you for keeping your screens off your windows. This is what I keep trying to tell people about a sadist. Don't help them come in your house. Don't help them snatch you off the street. Don't give a crook permission to violate you. They want you to walk out your door and don't lock it. We all have done it. We all do it now. Run to the car. You don't lock your damn door to just go to your driveway. Why would you do that? You're in an apartment complex. You don't lock your door to go empty the trash. But rule of thumb is you should. Paula says, I think he probably did it. Okay, that's fine. You go talk to the neighbor at the end of the driveway. Why am I locking my door? I'm just talking to my neighbor. Standing at the fence talking to the neighbor. Why I got to lock my door? What you're not thinking of is the opportunist. And that's what this crime is about. And it's no different than any other crime. I saw the opportunity and I took it. Because he could have stalked them all damn day. But had they had security cameras, motion lights, it possibly would have deterred Mr. Kohberger from trying to make entry onto the property and into the house. Oh, good Lord, Paula. Well, so far, it has been said that he is not linked to that crime about the dog, from my understanding. But as I said, don't give a crook the opportunity to come in your house. You need to keep all your doors locked, windows locked. If you're opening windows, go back, close them. You're going to go out for a couple of hours to shop or out for the night. It's time to lock up the house, lock up the windows. This is how they make entry. They're hoping you forget to close the window. The weather's nice. Okay, I want some fresh air to come in my house. I don't want the air conditioner running. So I open my window. That's my right. But it's still an opportunity for a crook to come in, whether you're home or not home. So that's why if you know you're leaving the house, shut the window, lock it back. Turn on your ADT if you have it. If you don't, still seal up your house. Don't talk about what you got on social media, what you bought, where you're going, how long you're going to be gone. Because the thing you don't seem to understand is that the crooks also watch social media. That is how Pop Smoke got smoked out in LA. Posting his parcels that he purchased on IG. And sadly, the label on one of the packages showed the address where he was staying. and the crooks broke into the house and they killed him. And it was an easy mistake because we have all made mistakes in showing personal things in pictures and photographs and videos. And this is why I always tell people you need to be very careful of what you show in the background of your photographs and your selfies, because a lot of times people do not pay attention to the selfies. You're taking pictures, you're showing videos, but you may be revealing more than you should be revealing in your photography, such as your number on your house, your apartment. So that's why when you take pictures of things on your door, you might want to show what you did for Christmas or Easter. You don't need to show the apartment number, house number. Because it's only a matter of time. The wrong people are going to find out where you stay. And you may not feel like you have enemies. You may not feel like you're being stalked. The point is you don't know people. And you don't know the character of people. And you can still have people do evil things to you without actually killing you. Such as telling your business, what you do, don't do. You're a school teacher, but you're out drinking. You're acting a fool on your videos, selfies. You post this stuff. I now have ammunition to try to get you fired. This is what I'm trying to say. Things can go bad in your life that don't have to be you being murdered. I'm just saying, be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what you post. Be aware of the apps you use. Be aware of modern technology. It's a great tool to have. There are days I'm very thankful for, having Wi-Fi and access to the computer, transferring things from YouTube to my TV. I love that technology. I love it. That was the greatest thing they ever made. What's the cell phone? The apps, being able to Google things, shop. But then there's a downfall to some of these things because people now have access to break into your, phone, emails, steal your identity, pretend to be you, a doppelganger. So there's a downfall to social media and the internet. And it also gives somebody that's not well a way to infiltrate your personal space, which I believe that's what happened here with the kids. It's that he found these kids on social media, became attached to them, formed some type of sick obsession with one of the girls or more, and he exacted his crime from his obsession. So I throw a little bit of knowledge in there just to tell you to be aware of your surroundings in your home, where you go, work, play, posting things, sharing things, your commentary. We live in a world of where one thing begets another. A simple post could lead to you getting beat up. A simple post could lead to you being stalked. A simple post can lead to you being robbed, kidnapped, and the worst case, murdered. And a lot of people don't think about that, but I'm a very high-thinking person. I'm very intuitive to my surroundings and other people. I watch how people react, how they talk, how they move. I watch everything. I look through my rearview mirror when I need to, when I'm out in public. I'm watching everything. But that's the point. You're not going to always be on guard, even when you're watching. And that's what the crook, robber, sadist is looking for. It's that opportunity. You are not aware of your surroundings. You are lax in your behavior, your demeanor. He or she is ready to pounce. And that is what happened with the Idaho 4. They were just young people living, but they did not pay attention to what is obvious. Don't ever walk out your house, off your property, to go party, work, school, and don't lock your damn door. The latch don't work on the front door, get it fixed. It don't work on the windows, get it fixed. You need screens, get them fixed. The latch on the glass door didn't work, damn, get it fixed. Because that's just a big, big no-no. Thank you, Manuel. You gave him an opportunity to come in. And I'm not victim blaming, but you have to be aware of your surroundings. And I said, when I first heard this story, and then I heard that the kids like to party and all that information started coming out about them having parties and gatherings, that was a recipe for disaster, even if there was no murder. Listen to me carefully. You having different people running in and out of your house is a bad idea for the obvious reasons. Sexual assault, theft, robbery. I just said, don't invite trouble to your house. You letting random Tom, Dicks, and Harrys and Janes run out of your damn house, you're asking for trouble. And I don't care if you're a college student. I don't care if you're a single person. I don't care if you're living with your parents, you're rooming with somebody, visiting somebody. A house with a lot of traffic is an accident waiting to happen. There is going to be bullshit. Ask me how I know. He said that you did this. He said you stole my wallet. He said you did this. I had it over here. I had a lock on the door. You trying to take my boyfriend. You trying to take my girlfriend. He said you made a pass. See where I'm going? $50,000 people entering your house and your jewelry's missing. The ring your mom gave you is missing. Your necklace from high school's missing. Your debit card's missing. Your ID's missing. It's one of the people that you had in your house. And how are you going to accuse somebody when you had 50, 60 people running at your damn house? You didn't lock your door. Anybody could have went in your room. You're outside drinking with people. It's warm. Nobody's in the house, but people are coming and going, peeing and urinating and throwing up. It's a recipe for disaster. Somebody falls, hurt themselves, fall down a flight of stairs, and God forbid it's a minor. You're not supposed to have alcohol in the house. You're not supposed to have alcohol on the property. We saw that with them through video footage. Okay? Drinking, and some of you were not even of legal age. Now, somebody gets hurt, throws up, sexually assaulted, OD, whatever. How are you going to explain who is going to be the liable party? The people that are 21, naturally, it's all the same. It's no different than having kids in your house drinking and you're the adult. Something bad happens, somebody drowns in a pool, somebody bumps their head. It's your fault because you're the adult and this is your house and you had alcohol in the house. So this is what I'm saying. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of your actions and how you conduct yourself. And when I heard that the kids had parties at their house, I told myself this was an accident waiting to happen because too many people running in and out of a doorway. Alcohol involved, possible drugs, smoking, pill popping, whatever. I don't know. Anything can happen. And all the people are going to do that are in the house visiting, living in the house, they're all going to play dumb. They're all going to play dumb. Well, I didn't know, and no, I didn't have no pills, and no, I don't do ecstasy, and you see where I'm going? And then if somebody's in the house doing something illegal, let's talk about that. Because you all brought up allegations of drugs, which I didn't feed into that because as I always tell you, bring me a receipt. I didn't judge nobody because their mom and dad had drug problems and drug arrests. That's not the issue. Bring a receipt if you're going to bring an allegation. Because in the end, we find out it had nothing to do with drugs, none of that. Parents on drugs. Those people didn't even live near the damn house or the university. But let's just say you got a roommate that gets high or sells drugs or fools with people that sells drugs. They fall out with somebody in the street. That trouble can lead back to the address. Now you're walking around your house in your little bloomers and somebody's kicking in your damn door, your glass door, looking for Susie Mae because she owes the dope dealer money or she ran off with somebody's dope or whatever. She sold somebody bad drugs or her boyfriend sold somebody bad drugs and he's known to hang over there at their house. But now they're at your house looking for him, and you don't know a damn thing about what's going on. You got to know your friends. You got to know what your friends are doing. Bryan, you know what I mean. You got to know what your friends are doing. You got to know your friends are friends. You got to know who your friends are fooling with. You need to know how your friends are acting when they're in the street and they ain't around you. Are they pranksters? Are they jokesters? Do they got a smart mouth? Say something out of the way to somebody? Because that's what I said in the beginning of the story before Kohberger was even arrested. I said, who the hell knows what these kids have been doing? Who knows what they've said to somebody out of the way? Spited somebody. Some guy was interested. She said no. She had a smart comment. He got mad, lied in wait. Who the hell knew? Nobody knew it was just some long-faced, long-nosed fucker that's sitting around here chasing women on the internet and sending them messages through IG, and he's got his drawers in a knot because they wouldn't respond. Join the rest of us, Kohberger. Everybody has been dismissed. Everybody has liked somebody. Everybody's had a crush on somebody. But you don't decide to start stalking them and kill them because they don't respond to a fucking message. But he is unhinged. He's angry, bitter, mad, fat boy, teased. No self-esteem. So now I'm bitter. I'm angry. I need revenge. I need vindication for all the people that made fun of me, talked about me, laughed at me. Nobody paid me any attention. Nobody asked me out to the prom. Nobody asked me to the school dance. Nobody wanted to deal with me in college. The girls didn't want to date me. I was too awkward. I was this. I was that. What's wrong with me? Why won't you notice me? Well, Kohberger, you didn't give anybody a chance to notice you. You didn't take the time, first of all, to know yourself. Instead, you held on to bitterness, and it jaded your perception of life. It jaded your movements, your navigation. So how are you going to navigate when you're blinded? You can't. And that's why you're now in a jail and have been indicted on murders plus a burglary charge, when all you had to do was get to know yourself and give yourself a chance. And there are many Kohbergers walking around, and there are little Kohbergers in the making. Stay woke now. All you have to do is give yourself a chance. You don't have to be a Kohberger. You don't have to be a Samuel Little, a Ted Bundy, a John Wayne Gacy, a Night Stalker, a Golden State Killer. Get to know yourself. Give yourself a chance. Get help for your evil thoughts. Who the hell wants to grow up to be a Jeffrey Dahmer? Eileen Wuornos? You don't have to be that person. You chose to be that person. Genetics or not. Upbringing or not. The day you knew you had sick thoughts, you should have sought help. Hey, doc, I need problems. I'm angry. I'm bitter. I'm mad. I'm vengeful. I'm spiteful. I want to kill everybody. I want to blow up stuff. I want to hurt animals. I want to choke women. I want to rape women. I want to sodomize children. Go get help. And I'm a believer in Jesus. Seek help. Seek Jesus. Because he's always there. He's on the main line, as black folks love to say. Try Jesus. Because you can't go wrong. And that's what's missing in a lot of these people's lives. They don't know the Lord. They don't go to church. They don't even believe in him. And I'm not here to preach, but I'm just saying, you can believe in God and not even go to church, because some people don't believe in organized religion, and I'm cool with that. But what I'm saying is, you got to have a belief in something. You got to have faith in something. That's why the world is so jacked up now. People don't have faith in anything. They're just out here doing whatever they want to do and think there's not going to be any repercussions. I know you're going to get it back. And I said it to myself last night. Listening to somebody moan and groan about little things that they were saying and who's saying things out of the way to them. First thing I thought was, that's what you should have been thinking, is that you're getting your karma back. You're getting a little bit of karma back when you were nitpicking with the queen a while back. And you were acting possessive and acting like you were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, acting, irrational with a complete stranger. You didn't even know me, and you're acting irrational. It's not normal behavior for a woman to act irrational because somebody's not answering their phone. Get a grip. We're not dating. So now you're hearing negative things about yourself, allegedly. Maybe it's time for you to assess yourself, your behavior. Maybe you're putting out vibes that you act, haterish, possessive. See, a lot of times we don't watch ourselves, how we interact with people. This is just a little bit of extra for those that are interested in the commentary. I'm going to let you all go. I want to thank you for your time. And know that this is not a true crime channel. I will be venturing to other territories as I did when I first uploaded content to YouTube before I was ever monetized or partner with YouTube. I will be bringing you other content. And as I said yesterday, I will be doing live streams pertaining to transgender children. Is it right to pay for a surgery for a child under the age of 18 to change his or her sex? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about a man finding out his child is not his child. And should he keep a relationship with that child, although he's been paying child support? We're going to talk about daily occurrences, daily situations that happen to people and how they interact. This is our all-around channel. We'll talk about breaking news, politics, not just true crime, death and gloom. I don't want to keep talking about that no more. I've had enough of that. You got a hot topic, breaking news pertaining to famous people, entertainment. Hey, we'll chop it up. But the death and gloom, I've had enough of that. And my spirit is telling me not to even talk about any more true crime, period, as live content. Post it to my community board. You can get the information there. But as far as me discussing it in a live stream, I'm just going to be truthful with you. I've had enough of that. Because what I'm telling myself is what I have said a few days ago in a live stream. You can carry that omen with you. And it may lead to something similar to what you're talking about. And I am tired of fearing for my own safety in talking about death and gloom. Because when I talk about that all the time, I'm only becoming paranoid in my living situation. And I always tell myself that I could be my own true crime story just because of where I live and how I'm living and the way the place I live is set up. I'll say it. It's a burglar's dream. And I don't like it. And I'm trying to make provisions to now, once again, find somewhere else to live because I just don't feel safe in the place I live in, the way it's set up. I don't like it. And it's not saying that I can go somewhere else and not get hurt or harmed. But as I just told you, I'm not trying to give the sadists a reason to push a door in. And I do feel like the content I've discussed recently pertaining to Dashina Kyle, it is still bothering me. And as someone said to me, you probably brought something back with you when you left that house where she was discarded. And I feel that. I feel that you can carry those demons around with you when you talk about death every day. You went to the place where she was murdered. You went to the place where she was discarded. And I do believe I carried something back. And I'm telling the universe and Satan on this live stream, I want it. And I'm claiming that in Jesus' name, amen. Follow the content of the Vault Excel. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below, drop your comments on the community page, put your suggestions there on the said video. Take the polls pertaining to Kohberger's case, Cal City, the verdict, Lori Vallow, and other said updates. I will try to come live tonight with another topic. We'll chop it up. We may even do a 2-part live, as so I can break down my video times and not have to make so many videos. But tomorrow, Kohberger will go before the judge, and we will see if he enters a plea. And I'll bring you that said update as I get the information. If you want to donate to this network, this channel, this dream, the Vault Excel, formerly Everyday Shenanigans, $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are welcome during my live streams. Love you too, honey. Thank you so much. Yes, I believe that. I believe you can carry the omens with you. And I also believe you can also carry the omens with the people that you hang around. And I say this to you because I know some of you do believe in the things that I talk about and my opinions. We don't have to agree all the time. But my spirit told me last night, you're gathering dirt from a certain person, certain other people. You're gathering dirt. You're gathering messy soil from the places that you're planting your feet. And so long as you're in the midst of this dirty soil, you're going to continue to have issues with people, whether you said anything to them out of the way or not. You're inviting the devil in. And they may not think they're working for the devil, but they are. And I don't want no parts of it. I don't want to hear nothing negative. I don't want to keep hearing negative things when I go out. I don't want to have negative things going on where I sleep. I don't want no parts of it. That's why I stay in my cocoon and I don't be bothered with people, because I'm tired of negativity. I'm done. And that also means the content I bring to this network. Enough is enough. Have a wonderful week. I will put up a movie suggestion here in a minute on my community page, because I didn't bring you all a movie suggestion for the weekend. So I'm going to give you a double whammy of movies to watch for this upcoming week. Please stay safe. Be aware of your surroundings. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. Mind the children. Prayers to the Idaho Force family members, the schools, because they are also affected. Prayers to the Vallow family, Miss Kay, Mr. Larry. Prayers for their journey. They're elderly people. They have a heavy burden to carry about little JJ. Prayers for further justice in the sentencing of the West children, and prayers that their remains are found. And prayers for all our missing children and those who have been found deceased. And prayers for the little boy who was abused by his parents in Georgia recently, in Griffin, Georgia. And we get justice for him, because we hear that they had other children. And why in the world would you try to starve your own child? If you enjoy watching and hearing content pertaining to children, macabre as it is, true crime stories, please check out the Chris Thorne Show. I will send you to his channel for updates and stories about children, because I am no longer wanting to discuss anything else about kids. I will try to bring you an update to the cases that are pending, because I have about maybe 3 cases that I've discussed that are pending. But I cannot guarantee you that I will do live videos on those kids, because I've had enough. Thank you for your time. You have been listening to The Vault. Excel.